I think we all have one concern in our life, and that's pretty much on a regular basis. And you know what that is? That's trust. Be it your professor, be it your CEOs. So there's a study that's going on, and that's a very interesting study that's coming up. It's 58% of the global CEOs do not have a trust on their subordinates. And that's huge, right? We do not have a trust on our banks. We do not have a trust on the product that we buy from Amazon or eBay or whatever product that you have. Now the subject today is Wall Street meets blockchain. What is this blockchain all about? So we'll discuss about blockchain, but before that, I think we've moved from a industry 1.0 to industry 4.0. Today, in this industry, we are in the digital era. But look at the education system that we have. We're still talking about what, 1998 education system, and that was built for an industrial age. That was not ever built for a digital age. And we're still figuring out how to process, right? So if you look at this industry 4.0 today, we talk about the optimization, we talk about the digitalization, we all have the digital phone with us, and we would like to carry out all our activities with this digital. But the one concern again, can we have a trust on this digital era of this today's industry? What are the economics are doing today? Economics are trying to find out what is the exchange of value. So the amount of transaction that you do, the amount of discussions that you do. So today we have a system called Aadhaar in India. Why it was built? Just to monitor our activity on a daily basis. We've got artificial intelligence which is like, let's take an example of a Google today. You go anywhere and Google tells you that, hey, the nearest restaurant can serve you better food. That means our credibility, or we as a people, are vulnerable to the industry. Can we solve that problem? Yes, we can solve that problem. But when you talk about blockchain, people talk about one aspect, and that's nothing but a cryptocurrency and a Bitcoin. Let me tell you, Bitcoin is not a blockchain. Now what is blockchain? Blockchain is a distributed ledger. Blockchain works on a cryptographic network. Blockchain provides multiple layers of security. Now let's take an example of Wall Street. Today, all our traditional financial institutions, be it bank, be it government, be it whatever you call it, all are facing one challenge, and that challenge is a security challenge. Lot of times you hear, lot of times you get an input from a newspaper or from an internet media that the banks have been hacked, the data have been compromised, your money has been vulnerable to people, people can access your money online, and stuff like that. Now, if you talk about the example of a Wall Street, there are 3-4 things that will come into a point. So when we started our industrial age, we've had only one thing, and that was informal rules. So we used to exchange money, right? And that was pretty secure. So you give me money, I give you money, and our transactions are over. But when the scale goes up, you've had traditional banking processes came into a picture. Now, again, your dependency to the banks have increased, but the trust is still vulnerable. You do not have a trust. Personally, I do not have a trust with the banks today. The next era of the industry, we've talked about putting these banks on an online media. So today, we are pretty happy getting that OTP on our phone, and we feel that we are secured in the industry. Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you, this OTP business is not secured in India. It's not. I'm a cybersecurity professional, works for a Maharashtra State Police, and I've been having great amount of cases where people share their OTP and the transactions have been done. So one of the input that the government of India was looking is that how do we secure our data? And that's where we've emerged with a technology which is called blockchain. Right? In the whole area of Industry 4.0, there's one aspect which is pretty important, and that is uncertainty. So you transact with Amazon, you have uncertainty whether you'll get the right product or wrong. When you transact with Amazon, you do not know who's sending the product to you. Is the money going to a right seller or not? That's just a small example that I'm trying to take. But when you look at a supply chain as an industry, I think that's going to be a biggest challenge. We are happy where we book an Uber from our phone and we get a taxi and we end up paying 120 rupees for a one destination. Let me tell you another example to that. You book the same cab with a different timing, same destination, your amount of 120 will go up to 132 rupees. Why is that? That's because of the artificial intelligence which is deployed by Amazon or a Uber. We feel happy when we see a lowered price being offered on the platforms. Right? So uncertainty is something which we will discuss. Now, blockchain is very simple. It's a peer-to-peer network which works on a cryptographic. The data is saved in under a block, and these blocks are replicated. Let's take an example. This image that you see, if you put this image on a blockchain, this image will be, probably we can put this, we can tear this image in 5 pieces, put this into a blockchain, and each block will hold one small image. But when you need this image, you will get it in a seconds of time. Let's take an example of a bank, right? How many of you trust a bank? Probably I do not trust. And the similar way you think. If you put a blockchain in the daily transaction, let me tell you, the banks will be eliminated from this industry. Uber as an example, if you put a blockchain to a Uber, your Uber will be eliminated where you will have a direct transaction with the driver. Now the question here is, can we pay or can we do a transaction with the help of technology? Yes, ladies and gentlemen, that's the way. What I'm trying to tell you is this technology is solving a problem which will exchange and value between two people with the help of technology, and this is first in kind, and that's nothing but a blockchain. I think we can discuss much more in detail about blockchain, but there are more uncertainties that we have on a daily basis. We all have at least 2 to 3 profiles on a Facebook. And what we are looking at is doing a communication with people, which is vulnerable to the industry, to the world. So if you have a blockchain, identity management can be resolved very quickly, because the data which belongs to you but does not pay you. If the blockchain is there, the data which belongs to you will always belong to you, but it will start paying you. Let's take an example. You have a LinkedIn as a profile, LinkedIn as a project today. We all have a profile on a LinkedIn, right? And you track that you're working with X organization. Or let's take an example. The kids will say, we are studying in an Army Institute of Technology, Pune. What happens? I will believe that the guys who's promoting that he's working or he's studying at an Army Institute of Technology, yes, I believe that he's doing it. But from a perspective of a crime or from a perspective of a vision, which is the belief system which is coming up? How do I authenticate it? I do not have any promising activity or a layer of authentication where I authenticate that this person is really studying there or not. Had it been a blockchain, the subordinates would have confirmed that yes, this person is working in this institute, and by proving that, by confirming that, the person or the people or his friends gets a tokenized amount. And that's where we call it data has become an asset. data is the new real goal for tomorrow. The second objective is the asset tracking. We buy a phone from Amazon, but you do not know the seller. You do not know whether you've selected the design phone, will reach out to you whether it will be same or not. How do you track it? Had it been a blockchain, we could have eliminated Amazon from there, and we could have had a direct transaction with the seller. So look at the supply chain as an industry that we've talked about. So all the middlemen that are there in the industry today will be eliminated automatically. Right? And last, we all have a contract with people. Today, we are in the world where before we could talk about idea, people say that let's sign an NDA. How does that work? Can we comply with that NDA? No, we cannot. But had it been a blockchain, you will have to comply because you've signed. And we know which date you've signed. We know how the NDA was progressing. What are the breaches that you can have? And this whole process is an automatic process. Right? So that's the uncertainty that we're trying to lower down with the help of blockchain. Now coming back to the Wall Street, or take an example of any other bank that we have. If you have a transaction in let's take an example of a SBI, and if you have a blockchain implemented in a SBI, what will happen is you will know to whom you're sending the money. You will know what side that money is reaching. You will know whether the tampering is happening or not. Your data will be secured. No one can have access to your data. Immutability, trust, accessibility of a data, and a confidentiality of data will remain there. And same goes with the Wall Street. If we transact, probably all digital ledgers would put it on a blockchain, and your complete record is publicly available. I would like to give a simple example because we're closely working with Government of India for Aadhaar security since last 10-15 days time. So we've given a suggestion that why don't we put blockchain towards Aadhaar? What will happen? One, wherever you go, you have identity management. I mean, when you go to a driving license, you have a driving license. That's another identity for you. You have a income tax, there you have a PAN card. You go to insurance claim, you have an insurance card. You go to bank, you have a debit card. So we've given a suggestion to Government of India, if you implement a blockchain, probably you'll only have one identity, and that could have been an Aadhaar. And with the help of Aadhaar, you can do all amount of a transaction on a blockchain. I know a lot of people will have a question towards what is cryptocurrency. Let me tell you, there are 1,500 types of cryptocurrency. We will not talk much about cryptocurrency because India has yet not legalized it. And India has yet not illegalized it also. So the team is evaluating it, and probably in another 3-4 months time, we will have a clear opinion about cryptocurrency. So Wall Street, if we put a blockchain on the table, we will definitely have a complete transaction in front of you. The complete transaction will be transparent, and the transaction will be immutable. That's the inheritance of a blockchain as a technology, right? So this blockchain is just not for an economy, please understand. This blockchain is for 19 sectors which are going to get disrupted. So be it cybersecurity, be it automobile, be it manufacturing, be it mechanical industry, almost all industries are trying to implement a blockchain just to create a one factor, and that's nothing but a trust. Thank you so much.